Can you hear me at all?
There you go.
Hey, I
Hi,
don't,
Phil. Mr. Sunshine.
damn, I don't know what was going on. I kept trying to join and then it said to call in and then I called in and it asked me for a meeting password and I didn't even know.
Oh, I see. You didn't have the link to that. I just saw your chat there. Okay.
Okay, yeah,
All right.
cool.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thanks. Appreciate that. I even did my hair, brushed my teeth, put a little deodorant on for you, even though you can't smell me, just to make sure.
So that's funny because I saw your picture there and I was thinking, wow, you have great hair. I need I need to get a haircut, right? My hair's a little, I mean, it's hard to tell on the video maybe, but it's getting a
Yeah,
little wild here for me.
yeah.
So,
It's above the ears. That's my same thing. I just put water and tucked it
yeah.
behind my ears, so it looks like I got it trimmed in.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
Phil, thanks for joining me today on the Red Shoe Broker YouTube channel, I guess. And I haven't really called it anything, but
No.
just for the rest of the folks that'll be watching, Phil and I met about a year ago at a baseball game,
True
and
story.
it was a River Cats game, local to Sacramento, and that was a fun game,
Yep.
and that's how I ran into Mr. Sunshine Solar here, and we have a little gentleman's bet going.
That's true.
So every all the problems we're having right now are Phil's fault.
This is very true. You're welcome.
So the gentleman's bet was that home prices were going to drop how much, Phil?
50%.
In a year,
Yeah.
and it's been about a year.
Well, I
So,
said by 2020.
well, that's where we are.
Yeah, we're in 2020, so we have the rest of the year to
Okay.
hit the goal.
And I will give you the rest of the year. Right now, I'm also doing a weekly update because home prices uh, normally statistics don't come out until a month or two after. So I'm doing weekly updates to share what's happening. And right now, as of this past Monday, home prices are still climbing a little bit in
Perfect.
Sacramento, which is what we want.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a house that's going to be for sale here shortly, so I for sure also want that. The market can crash later on down the road when I sell mine.
Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with Mr. Sunshine Solar?
It's a hard name. I know. I get that a lot. It's a tongue tire. So, 2013, I leave BMW and I decided to start on a different path. I worked for one of the largest distributors in the world at the time to really kind of get a comprehensive perspective of what is involving solar. I was the electric vehicle specialist for BMW while I was there. And my dad, who's a super character from Texas, is like, "Hey, boy, I've been in construction my whole life, and you're into solar. Why don't we just make a company?" So that's pretty much what we did. And I got teased a lot because I'm very jovial. As you can tell, I'm trying to tie my hands in
Yeah,
because I talk.
yeah, this
Yeah,
is odd for you.
yeah. Usually I'm like this, but so long and short of it is, they used to call me Sunshine because I'd be whistling and singing and doing that kind of thing. And I thought, what'd be great is if the best revenge is success. At least that's one expression. And my friend of mine at the time said, instead of just calling it Sunshine, why don't you call it Mr. Sunshine Solar and command an audience? And I went, okay, that sounds pretty fun. So I did. And that was in 2013. And then my dad, like a jerk, passed away in 2014, but an
Oh,
idiot, you know? And
sorry to hear that.
I just, it's not a big deal. I mean, it happens, unfortunately. Love him to death. But well, I mean, literally, because he's gone now. But and then I just kind of kept the company going. Yeah, a little bit of a morbid personality, but we'll make it work.
We will definitely make it work.
So yeah, and been cranking out ever since.
So that's an interesting time to start the construction business. As a realtor, I've been around for 22 years, and most people know that the market crashed late 2007 and definitely in 2008, and started to pick up again in 2012 here in well, nationwide, but here in Sacramento area particularly. Um, but how did that work for you with changes in the real estate market? How did that affect you locally?
I hope this comes across in the right way, but I always believe in dominating. I don't believe in competition. Competition is a theory where you are competing on the same level or platform that someone else has. For me, I've always thought of it three-dimensionally. What can I do to create an environment where I'm the most successful, regardless of what other people are doing? If there's 1,000 people that are competitors, what can I do to make myself stand out? And so I've never really been afraid to just, jump headfirst into an empty pool. So when the company presented its opportunity to me, I decided that, when the market contracts, there's far less people out actually doing the business. So I wouldn't have to do nearly as much advertisement. So for the first couple of years, I just went out and cut my teeth on knocking on doors to get business and was giving really aggressive deals. And in that moment, I had a thought that so many companies, I won't name them, but so many companies are charging just an insane amount of money. I didn't feel that that was right for the customer. And it still happens today because, as Americans, we want to profit as much as we can with as little effort as possible. That's kind of our motto. So I decided to create a different form where I said, okay, I'll slow growth my company, don't take on debt, don't do anything like that. And then all the fat from the marketing and everything else that I have, I'll pass that along in savings, which is about 20 to 30% of what the normal markup is for your most of your top producers. So that's what I did. I just essentially trimmed off all that fat, and I think on average, the lowest savings that we have is 15% when you compare it to other people, and it creates a better rate of return. It's safer for the customer because at the end of the day, they're trying to get out of an infinite contract with the utility,
Right.
which you're in, right? You're in an infinite amount of debt, even though it's not on your credit. So we want the best ROI for them, and 90% of our business is referral. So that's what we decided to do. And that all came from really knock on people's doors. There's three things you don't knock on people's doors about, right?
Okay.
Census, religion, politics, and there's a fourth one now, solar, right? I mean, we're right in that category where someone says solar, people go, oh God, talk to me about Jesus. I'd much rather hear that. So that's where we're at.
Okay. So solar, is it, besides being an interesting topic for me in terms of real estate, I will tell you that over the past few years, it's always been a little bit of a challenge trying to evaluate how much does solar really provide in terms of value to a home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to switch it over a little bit to pools, for example. It's not unusual to have a pool here in the greater Sacramento region.
Yeah.
But when we do an analysis as a realtor or an appraiser, we'll take a look at what the value of homes are that in an area that have pools and the value of homes that don't have pools. And that difference is how much value the pool applies to the house. The difference is a pool is pretty static. You have a pool or you don't have a pool. It doesn't add a return on investment per se like
Sure.
solar does. So let's talk about how you assess the value of solar.
Well, can I step back to the pool real quick?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I like that idea. So you get a pool and you pay $50,000 for your pool, right? You have to dig it out, you put plaster in. There's a lot that goes involved in a pool. When you go and get an appraisal done, you're appraising it based on what the comps sold for. But
Right.
never has it ever sold for $50,000 of what you actually paid for it, right? Because it's going to be devalued the moment you put it in. So solar is not unlike that. And that's, I think, what the challenge is that there's three products out. There's a finance product, there's a lease product, and there's a power purchase agreement or PPA. And I'll cover what those are. But solar companies that do leases and power purchase agreements, they value their system based on the energy production. They're looking at it from a financial standpoint, which doesn't translate to real estate. And then purchases, which is what we solely do, does translate. And the way we calculate that is we will take the system size, we subtract the tax credit and some depreciation, and it comes out to, I think, $1.96 on a very conservative side that it should be evaluated. So if you wanted to do quick math, if you had the average system size in Northern California is a 7.5 kW, and that's on the conservative side. So if you went 7,500 watts times 1.96, you're looking at a $14,250 evaluation for solar, which matches the national average. The average home should appraise for around $14,000 to $15,000, depending on the system size, etc. What you'll see in my background, if I move out of the way there, that is a solar patio. So what we found is no one's ever walked up to the house, Ray, and said, wow, your solar looks really
Amazing.
deals. Yeah, no one's ever done it. It's not,
No.
it's not. In fact, the one thing I hear is, please don't put that on the front of my house. I don't want my neighbors to know I'm trying to save money. So what we've realized is that if we do a solar patio, you can now monetize your entertainment space into a solar structure. So it now becomes a talking point and actually has a significantly higher value. But for real estate people, to keep it condensed and simple, look at the wattage of your panels. So is it a 250 watt panel or a 300 watt panel? That'll be on the contract, and they can call me. I would be more than happy to help them chart that water. But figure out what the wattage of the panels are, and then how many panels you have. And then we can calculate your system size and look at the value of just the equipment, right? And not to mention what it'll save in production, right? Because there's two values. If you go to buy a home that's $100,000, but your average bill for that home is $350, right? Then you have to calculate for yourself a budget of $1,000 to $1,100, right? Because that $100,000 home is going to be roughly $750 a month. So you have to budget in your utility. But if you buy that home and there's a solar system that covers $300, well, that $300 in translation to a mortgage is significantly better than a $300 that translates to $14,000 solar system, as we just talked about, right? You're looking at $350 could be as high as $40,000 or $50,000 depending on your mortgage, right? Because if you look at it as like a debt to income.
Right.
So that value really translates well when people look at their bottom line when they're buying a house, which is why we don't do leases. We only do purchases, because we want people to be able to step into a house and not have to worry about that monthly bill, especially since we're sheltered in place right now. A lot of families who are budgeting are going, okay, well, let's shut off all the lights when we leave the house. Let's keep the AC off unless it's absolutely necessary, because they're having to consume a lot more energy. And that throws off most of the time their average budget of what they're used to. So
I actually just saw a report on that today that talks about the increase of energy use based on the shelter-in-place situation we're in, and it's gone up quite a bit. So, all right. So it's interesting that we talk about, you know, real estate and adding value to a home, and you're looking at it as your savings. And then how can you apply that savings to whether it's the purchase of the home or, you know, whatever it happens to be.
Correct.
So let's take a quick look, if you don't mind. I'm going to share with you what I looked in Placer County. So you're not going to see my screen, but I did a quick analysis of homes that sold in Placer County. The average sale price over the last 6 months has been about $548,000.
Okay,
that's good. But if it's a house with solar, it's $50,000, $70,000 more. It's $618,000.
Wow.
So it's significantly higher. But hold on, you know, maybe the people that buy solar are people that just happen to have more expensive homes.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, all right, what if I take that as a given? There's a second analysis we can do, and when a home sells, what is that ratio from the original list price to the sales price? Usually there's a little bit of a gap there, and traditionally homes without solar, from the very original sales price to the final sales, from the original list price to the final sales price, in Placer County is 96.7%. That means they dropped the price right about 3%. But if the home had solar,
Yeah.
it sells for 98.7% of the value of the original list value. So they're selling for more, not just in dollars, but in percentages. So
Right.
having solar definitely seems to be adding value to a house. Another feature that people don't consider is how long does it take a house to sell? Well, over the last 6 months, it takes about 48 days to sell a house in Placer County, unless it had solar. And it sells in a house with solar sells in about 40 days. They're just more desirable. So I do know that there's potentially problems with homes that have solar. And you kind of mentioned 3 ways to buy solar. Can we talk about the differences between the power purchase agreement and a lease?
Yeah, yeah. So even for salespeople, there's a lot of confusion, right? I'll start with the most confusing product. Salespeople, I mean solar salespeople. Power purchase agreement, just like the name sounds, you're agreeing to purchase the power that's produced by the solar. So, irregardless of what you're using, you're going to be buying the power at a certain rate. Most people in PG&E territory, talking about Placer County, so most people in PG&E territory are signing these power purchase agreements at 16 to 18 cents per kilowatt hour. The average, I think, is almost 21 cents in PG&E. So there's immediate savings, but there's a 2.9% escalator or utility bill inflation rate that is for the length of the 20-year contract or 25-year contract, depending on who you sign up with. So PG&E, we can talk about SMUD as well. PG&E has a nearly 9% escalator if you just look over the last 5 years, with all of the times that they've just raised their prices and made these adjustments in their fees. It roughly comes out to 9 to 11%, depending on where you live. So you're definitely saving money, but you're stepping into another product that is essentially putting you in the same position you're in with PG&E. That means that for the next 20 years,
Okay.
your bills will be going up significantly by 2.9%. So a lease is also 2.9% and has an escalator, but you have one consistent payment the entire time, irregardless of what the power is that you produced. The challenge that you're going to find at the end of the year, you still may have what's called a true-up bill by the utility. So you've spent all this money, you've saved money, but at the end of the year, if you get a bill for $1,000, $2,000, or even $3,000, like I've had clients of mine do, then you're looking for an alternative to say, why did I sign up for solar? A lot of these products are beneficial. Like if you can't qualify for the tax credit, a power purchase agreement or a lease might be an advantage for you, especially like a lease. But when people go to buy a home, they don't want to assume a lease. They don't want to assume a PPA. They just want to not have a bill anymore and just have solar pay for their energy, essentially, right? And not have to also then pay for solar. So typically what I see is the negotiation in escrow to pay the system off, which is the key advantage, which is probably why the prices stay a little bit higher, because they're looking for no bills. And that's the goal, right? If you could buy a cell phone, this cell phone right here is what you can't see. There it is. That cell phone right there is $1,000 now, right? Which is insane. An iPhone's $1,000.
Right.
What if iPhone came out with a product that said, you buy this iPhone for $5,000, and then when it's done being paid off, you no longer have to pay Verizon or AT&T for your service. It's now perpetually free. Everybody in the
Including the service.
Yeah, including the service. Everybody would buy that phone for $5,000 because that would mean a lifetime of them not having bills for their service. So solar is kind of the same way. Power purchase agreement is a unique product and definitely has its place, but it makes it really challenging in the real estate world to do it, because you have to either assume the product or buy the product, and it kind of can muck things up a little bit. So it's just it depends on what your bracket is and what issues you may or may not have.
I'm glad you clarified that, because I got an email a little earlier from one of our cohorts on creating this, and they mentioned about some solar companies are perceivably cheaper than others. And she said, true up bull. And
Yeah,
true up bull. Is it bull or you? But it's Bill, isn't it? It's not bull.
it could be
Maybe it
bullshit.
is.
I mean,
It, it could be
who knows?
both.
Yeah, it could be
So I
both.
wasn't
It could
sure.
be both. Yeah, so true up bill so we run into this all the time, right? The salespeople with the slickest tongue often get the sales because most customers just want to hear the blue and gold. They don't want to hear reality. So they end up putting themselves in a bad position through naivety. And I'm not putting anybody down. It's just the way the marketplace is, right? I don't want to have to read the contract. Let me just sign. I trust you, right? That's the society we live in. So what ends up happening, we go in as Mr. Sunshine and say, okay, you need a 5 kW. That's 100% coverage for what you need for your house. And another salesman comes in and says, oh, that guy's a liar. You don't need that. You need a 3.5 kW, and our price is way, way, way cheaper. And they go, oh, he must be a liar because this guy's telling me that he's telling me the truth and he's cheaper. Oops, sorry about the background noise.
Okay.
He's telling me that he's cheaper. And so what ends up happening is they give you a system that covers 70 or 80% of what your actual usage is, and they mark the price up. So they're getting a much higher return on their investment, but it looks like it's significantly cheaper. Most people don't know how solar works, so they accept the guy that sides with them. Hey, that guy's clearly a liar. He's trying to oversell you. Well, I'm not going to be taken advantage of. But in reality, it's the people that are telling him that are taking advantage of them. And so at the end of the year, SMUD or PG&E, they're going to say, okay, here's what you produced. Here's what you used. Here's the difference between the two, and that's the money that you owe. And if you overproduce, then that rolls over credit-wise, like the old AT&T bills used to roll
Right.
over, right? Roll over minutes, call me on the nights and weekends. So essentially, you have to be very leery about your usage. And it's very simple. We offer a free energy audit. So even if you don't buy from us, we'll find out your 12 months usage. We'll figure out what system size you need based on your sun exposure. And then you can know what it is you're exactly looking for. So if you get 5 or 10 bids out, or 3 bids or 2 bids, usually an average customer will get 3 bids. Getting a full 100% offset? Am I getting 80%? But common practice is that they will do tier cutting, which is just undervaluing their system.
Got it.
Long answer. I know you just asked me for the time, but I tend to build watches.
Yeah, I didn't know how exactly. I didn't need to know how that watch was built, but thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So that was a power purchase agreement and a lease.
Yep.
There's one other, I think, purchase, a plan called PACE. Are you familiar with that?
PACE is a finance option. So there's 3 purchase options and there's multiple finance options. So PACE is basically an assessment against your tax. It's a lien against your tax. They call it an assessment, which is a super fancy word for lien. It's a lien against your property tax. It does have some really key advantages. If you don't want to affect your debt to income because you're a business owner, or because you just don't want to affect your debt to income, it's an awesome product. It is on the house. On occasion, depending on the lender, there can be times where it's transferable. The majority of time, 80% of the time, it is not transferable, regardless of what salespeople will tell you.
But that just means, for the people that are watching, that just means that solar has to be paid off when the house is sold.
Right.
It's non-transferable. So they have to come up with the extra $20,000 or $30,000 or whatever it is.
Correct. Some lenders are a little bit more lenient. So if you're finding a real hard-nosed lender, see if you can find a different one, especially if you're using a broker. That would be my suggestion. The other thing about PACE is that because it's on your property tax, whatever the interest is on the loan is 100% deductible. But now with a lot of the tax laws, and I'm not a CPA or tax professional, but there's a lot of write-ups you can get with all the solar loans. You don't have to do that. But if you also have bad credit, and or if you want to be more politically correct, if you're credit challenged, PACE is a really sensational thing because it has a lot more leniency than most loan providers. Most loan providers are going to require close to 700 credit score. And so if you're in the 580s or 590s or low 600s, this is a sensational product for you because you can still get a really low interest rate. You just have to be aware of how the product works for you, especially if you're going to sell the house.
And we can always call you if we have a question about what's best.
Yeah, I may not answer, but you can always call me if you like. Yes, absolutely.
Is all solar the same?
No, God. It's like, you know what cabinets are and countertops. And
Sure.
so most real estate agents will walk into a house and be like, oh, this has granite countertops and look at this kitchen. They don't know if it's a Home Depot kitchen with Chinese granite or if it's custom granite and where it's sourced. Like there's a variety that tells the value, right? Solar's like that, except times 1,000. So you have literally 2,000 or 3,000 manufacturers, and you have tier one manufacturers. Those are the ones that meet the highest quota and regulation and financials and production value. Those are the ones you want to look for first, just a tier one. And then you have the fire retardant rated panels, which are a fire retardant rating on your panels, which you, like in school, you have a type 3, 2, or 1, 1 being the best, 3 being your average, your lowest, which is your average. You can't go lower than 3. So you want to watch out for that. And then there's, efficiencies, and then there's name brands. I mean, there's just so many variables that go into choosing a panel. Like the panels that you see in the background, those are a Solar World panel. They're made in Oregon. They're American made, German engineered. They're sensational. Those are a really good product. They're a little bit more expensive because they are American made, but they're a C-class panel or a type 3 panel, fire retardant rating. So you're getting a good panel, but you're not getting the absolute best panel in the market. You're getting a solid average. So just, be leery. If it says Canadian Solar, they're made in Turkey and they're a Chinese company. But everybody would be like, oh, it's Canadian Solar. But that's just the name of the company. Yeah. So
what about warranties then? If if I have a problem with my solar system, they always tout warranties. Tell us a little bit about the differences in warranties.
Interesting. So every company offers a 25-year guarantee. Nothing new on solar panel. Panel that has the highest classification of fire retardant rating, and then they have the best as far as your workmanship warranty. Instead of a 10-year, they have a 25-year workmanship warranty. That panel is going to be considered much greater value in 25 years, right? Because the degrade over that period of time is going to be significantly less because of the higher classification of that panel. The lower the rating on the fire retardant, the harder that efficiency gets hit. And so in 25 years, it's not going to produce nearly as much as a panel that has a type 1 versus a type 3. So 25-year warranty, to answer your question.
Is the warranty assumable? Like some windows allow you to transfer. I mean, if you put new windows in your house, the company allows it to transfer. So you can do the same with solar?
Infinitely, yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Now, if I'm going to be working with a buyer or a seller, are there some, to help them buy or sell a home, are there some key phrases or some things that we should look out for? What are the details that I should be concerned about as a buyer or seller?
I would look at, if you're looking at a system that's 10 years old, you should put even within the last, 2014, there was a lot of product that came out that had to be recalled because there was a small manufacturing defect in some of the manufacturers. I won't call all of them out. But if your panels are anywhere from 6 to 8 years old or older, you have to get them very detailed inspected, because there's arc fault protection that hasn't been done during that time the same way that it is now. The regulations have gotten a lot better. There wasn't rapid shutdown support then. And so we've gone in and changed out inverters that are 10 years old that have fried motherboards, and people thought their solar was working their entire time. I actually had a customer say, oh, I thought my solar was working. I just figured we were using more energy. I couldn't figure out what was going wrong. And they had been not having solar for the last 4 years. So yeah.
I'm sorry. So do you do solar inspections?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like for you, I would give you for your customers 3 free solar inspections for this year, just as a courtesy for taking the time to meet with me, that you can offer and be the hero to your clients. But yeah. Ugh. Yeah, flex. Exactly right.
Yeah. Speaking of flexing, so we only have a few minutes left. Let's get off topic a little bit here. What have you been doing to keep yourself um, busy or entertained while we're pretty much locked down? Is solar considered essential business?
Yeah, I am considered essential, which is great. I mean, my mom always told me I was essential, so now it's just become true, which I'm very proud of.
You've been validated.
That's right. I'm validated 100%. So, yes, we are an essential service. We haven't slowed down. Actually, we just got, I think, I got a text this morning or yesterday, I can't remember when, from my director of sales and marketing, Samantha, and we got 2 more in contract. And so we have one site survey going in on Monday in San Francisco. And then we have another site survey here coming in shortly. And we have about 6 different pending contracts right now, people who still want to move forward. Life hasn't stopped. There's just one large sector of the economy that really got hit. But if you look at the employee discount that we're giving right now and combined with what we're doing with Shriners Hospital, it's a no-brainer for most people that see our advertisement that want to move forward, because they're saving up to $15,000 off their system, depending on the size of their system. So we've actually sped up in our business.
So just to clarify, you're offering everybody the employee discount.
Yeah, right now for the next month. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then if you buy a system from us, you get the benefit of knowing that 15% of whatever proceeds we have for our back end product portion goes to Shriners Hospital. So, because those children that are there, like burn victims and ones without limbs, they're at the most critical for exposure for coronavirus. So we want to make sure that we support them. That's a very near and dear place for me. I'm actually a Freemason, and Shriners Hospital was founded by the Freemasons, and so that they have a special place in my heart. So whatever I can do at any time to give to the hospital, I will. So what we're doing is giving as much as we can to individuals who need it, especially in the, and also giving back to Shriners Hospital at the same time. And then I've foregone my salary for last month and this month to make sure that we can do this. Not that it was that much anyways, but.
So I just want to clarify, but your company gives 15% to the Shriners even before the coronavirus.
Yeah, that was it. Well, we were doing 25 at one time, because kids, why not, right? Do something positive, sow the right seeds. And then when the coronavirus happened, I really wanted to make sure that I was there to support families here locally that still want to move forward with solar. And so I discounted it to my employee pricing, and then also just kind of gave a little bit less to Shriners, but still I wanted to make sure I give. And I want to address that a lot of people think, oh God, I can't afford $30,000 or $20,000 for solar. You are going to pay either way. You're either going to pay your utility infinitely, or you're going to own your energy, right? At the end of the day, sorry, got a call. At the end of the day, you're going to pay someone. And so you either own it and you reduce the cost of your bill, or you don't.
Right. Great.
So it's not that you have to come up front with any money. There's a ton of amazing loan programs where you don't have to put any money out of pocket. So
terrific. Okay.
And my screen again, but that's okay.
Well, you look great.
Okay.
So thanks for joining us. Any parting words for our viewers?
I think I've talked quite a bit. So.
So actually, I just want to share real quickly about the baseball game we were at. The invitation I received for the baseball game was from the Shriners, and they.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was through I think Jacob.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
Jacob Cummings. Yeah. So.
Good guy.
Well, I'm looking forward to more baseball. I'm looking forward to seeing you again and having a beer.
Yes.
In the meantime, watch on Facebook. There's Facebook Live watch parties going on. I have one tonight at 8 p.m. with the Spasmatics. And then on Tuesday, a few weeks ago, I started a happy hour Tuesdays at 5 p.m. And we're changing that. It seemed like there was a little bit more fun this past week because we started playing trivia games. So it'll be a happy hour game night.
Very
Tuesdays you'll see it's on Facebook, but we'll be doing it by Zoom. So
awesome.
thanks again for your time, and you have a great
Thanks so
week.
much. You as well, man.
Talk
Appreciate
to you
it.
later.
Bye.
Bye bye.